Hey, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. Keith Andrews is here from andrewshometeam.com, and we're going to cover, well, we'll see what we do cover, but we're going to cover so many different areas. We might talk about real estate. We might talk about resilience and achievement leading to significant success in the corporate world. But Mr. Keith Andrews, he is all about real estate, and he runs the #1 investment-friendly real estate team in Colorado Springs. So we're going to drop a phone number really quick. If you're in Colorado Springs, if you are in any way related to real estate, if you want to get in the game, or if you're already in it and you want a new friend, 719-337-4522. That is Keith Andrews from Andrews Home Team. So now that we got a little bit of a plug in there, Keith, tell me some things. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I really am. It's a beautiful sunny day today, which is amazing because about a week ago we were in the negative numbers, and today we're looking at around high 40s, 50s, low 50s, but the sun is shining and you just can't beat that.
I agree 100%. That reminds me, there's something they say about, like, if you're in a bad mood or experiencing the negativity, the anxiety, the overwhelm, that's just the weather. That's just the storm. And you use the tools, you hang in there, you persevere, and then the storm will pass. And then you can actually be productive and be happy and be fulfilled and achieve things and everything else. And so we introduced you a little bit, but in your own words, what's the elevator pitch for Mr. Keith Andrews? What are you all about? What's your passion?
My passion, honestly, is just living life to its fullest. I spent so many years just dug in, knee deep, actually up to my elbows, actually up to my neck, and just work, just buried, project after project, and just, working, chasing money, basically, that bigger paycheck, and material things versus the things that matter in life, like family and connections and relationships, and just taking it all in, taking a step back to just enjoy this life that we've all been blessed with. So for me, that's really what I live for now. I wake up in the morning, every single morning. First thing I do while the sun is still down is, believe it or not, I jump in an ice bath for 5 minutes. And it's horrible. I hate it. It's nothing. There's nothing pleasurable about it until I get out. I just feel amazing. I watch the sunrise. Then I do a morning workout. And then that kind of just sets my mood. I went through something hard in the morning, and now I can just tackle anything that the day brings and enjoy it that much better. Even the bad things, like, enjoy it. This is part of life. I tripped today. Great. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. So really, I just love life. I love my family, my beautiful wife, and my children. That's really what keeps me going. And what eventually got me into real estate in the first place was trying to figure out that combination to get out of this endless hamster wheel a lot of us get into when we're in the corporate world, working, and always tied to a meeting or a cell phone or something like that. So yeah, that's my elevator pitch, is just living for every moment.
I love it. And what comes to mind here is, like, the delayed gratification, and just this idea that you have a plan, right? Like, if you were 100% focused on jumping in that horrible ice bath and all you were thinking about was how bad it was and not about the day ahead, then it would be hard to continue. But when you're doing these important things to make money and focus and do your real estate deals and just kind of make the money now, so that way there's a purpose for it later, kind of living in those 2 points in time at once, that seems to be kind of the ticket out, right? In saying, like, well, I'm experiencing this delayed gratification and it has a purpose, and I have this sort of direction in my life. And so as far as the work stuff, right, the money stuff, what are you all about? Like, when someone says I'm in real estate, that can mean all sorts of different things. So what is your flavor of real estate, and how do you stand out in it?
Well, I'm first and foremost a real estate investor. I am also an agent, and we can talk about that, what I'm doing for other people, mentoring them, helping them get into investment properties. But for me, what lit it off for me was the BRRRR strategy, right? Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. That's how I started my journey. back when I was in the corporate world. I stumbled across that strategy after, listening to podcasts and whatnot. Eventually, I got my hands on David Green's book, Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, and Repeat. And I read that thing cover to cover several times. And a light bulb went off in my head. And that strategy, for those that don't know, basically is instead of buying a rundown house and flipping it for quick cash, you hold on to that property, you rent it out after it's been fixed up, so it's cash flowing. You refinance it so that you can get all of the money that you put into it back, so you have that money in your pocket so you can go after another one. And I did that strategy home after home within about a 3 to 4 year period of time, where I had enough homes under my belt that were cash flowing that I was able to quit my day job. And once I did that, friends, family, everything, they were coming to me saying, man, dude, how did you do this? Like, you walked away from this, high paying career to do real estate full time. And I'm like, yes, because it changed my life. It allowed me the freedom to do things on my own terms and my own timelines. And that's when I decided, because I had friends going, hey man, help me with one, and I did. I helped a few friends with, a few projects. Like, I didn't get paid for it or anything like that. I just helped them. And that's when I was like, I should probably get my real estate license, because I think I could really help people, not only help friends and family, but other people that are interested in real estate. I can kind of mentor them and at the same time work with them as an agent, and also work on my own properties as an agent. So I could leverage like a commission to pick up a property. It gives me a lot of negotiation power when I'm, in there negotiating with the seller's agent. I could say, hey, you know what, how about I don't take a commission on this sale and let's lower the price? Or, there's lots of ways you can negotiate when you have that commission as a bargaining chip. And now I help even use that chip with others. Like, I will go in with a client and say, look, okay, let's just say I'm going to make 3% commission to buy a property. What I do is I look at it like, okay, my ultimate goal is to help this person, because that's actually more valuable to me than money. Sure, it's great to get paid on something, but do I need to make 3%? No. If I can leverage 1-2% of that commission to help them get started in real estate, I'll do that. I'll leverage that tool. And that's what makes me and my team different, is because we're not just chasing deals. We're not just chasing the dollar. We want to change people's lives, really, because like, real estate has changed my life. I have 2 other agents that work for me. Real estate's changed their lives. So that's our mindset, is like, what can we do to help these people have the freedoms that we are, that we've been able to get because of real estate?
I love that. You're all about problem solving and having that empathy of looking at the other person and saying like, okay, well, what's their problem right now? They want to sell their home. They want to get a good price for it. So how can I kind of help them do that instead of just what's in it for me? And so you also, what's really cool is that it seemed like you had this kind of this milestone of like replacing your day job income. And instead of just saying like, well, I'm going to just kind of work my tail off and get to some kind of vague goal, you said, well, I'm going to get to kind of the day job replacement level. And then also what's coming to my mind is with the BRRRR strategy, I just recently heard it explained kind of like you're doing things serially instead of parallelly, right? Like if you had 100
Yes.
grand and the kind of like newbie mindset is, oh, let me take 100 grand, let me just drop it in these like 4 homes at once. And my understanding of this BRRRR strategy is you go all in, you got to get the equity out, refinance and you refurbish and you do all those things, and then you take that and kind of keep moving on the next deal and like never stop. And so that way you're like 100% focused in each thing and you kind of build it up over time. And so is that along the lines or similar to kind of the way the boxes and the lines kind of play out in your imagination as far as the master plan?
It is for me. And I like dealing with one house at a time, just like I like dealing with one client at a time. So if I have 2 clients that come to me, I will push one. I'll say, hey, man, I'm really focused on another client right now. For one, I don't want to chase after, maybe both clients want the same type of property or whatever. I don't want to work with both of them and have them compete against each other. That's not fair. So I like doing things from start to complete, one step at a time. And that's what's perfect about the BRRRR strategy is you're investing your money into one property, right? You're fixing it up. Once it's done, if it's successful, you're getting 100% of the money that you put in back out so that you can repeat the process. And today, with the interest rates the way they are, finding these properties where the numbers will actually work, where you can get 100% of your money out, it takes a lot more time. It's a lot harder. So I like to make sure that the one that I'm going after is the one that I know from. I'm very conservative with the numbers. I make sure that I'm going to be able to get at least 90% of my money out, like worst case scenario. And that's factoring in the unknowns, right? You buy a house, you think, oh, it just needs floor and paint. Then you find out it needs all new electrical because there's some wiring issue. It needs new HVAC. There's the plumbing needs to be, I mean, there's all kinds of unknown. So you always have to kind of prepare for that. But yes, my box is I find a property, I rehab it, I put a renter in there, and I make my houses nice. So like I'm making sure that whoever's my tenants are getting a really nice remodeled house. Like my wife always says, man, why does that house have a nicer kitchen than we do? I just, it's the way it is. But yeah, once that's done and I get my money back out, then I go look for the next one. Like right now, I kind of took a pause at the end of the year. And I purchased a turnkey, one of the first turnkey properties I ever did. And it was just because I was able to secure it using seller financing. It was just a really good deal. So I went for it. But right now that that one's done, I'm looking for my next BRRRR. And I'm actually working with another client right now that I'm saying, okay, look, he has a different price range than I do. So I'm looking for a BRRRR for him and I'm looking for a BRRRR for myself, but they're not competing against each other because they're two different types of properties that we're going after.
And so, lately I've been thinking about the kind of how the excitement connects to the action, right? And if you're young and you're immature, then you let your excitement about a new project, like you just jump on it, right? And then it can be exciting to just like start new projects, and next thing you know, you're multitasking, doing all these things. And then when you become older and wiser, then you say, well, I could, for some reason, I do get excited about this deal, and even though it doesn't make a lot of logical sense, like it has me, emotionally all churned up, so I want to jump on that. But when you're older in the years, you kind of try to use the positive emotions to help you instead of being dragged along. So do you ever think about these things, like when there's some of these almost deals and you think like, oh, like it almost makes sense, but I need to factor in that wiggle room cost. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this, on making your emotions and your enthusiasm work for you instead of against you?
Yeah, that's where it's really good to have a devil's advocate in your corner, somebody that will, and for me, that's my wife. She'll always, like, just no matter what, I can find the best deal in the world and she'll tell me all the reasons why we shouldn't buy it, right? But it's good to have that because that kind of keeps me in check where I won't do something too drastic. And I have done that, like early on, before I discovered the BRRRR strategy, like years, like this is back in, I want to say 2000, right before the housing market, 2007, 2009 recession. I bought a property at the worst possible time and the numbers didn't work, but I was just so committed to go, and it was going to be a flip. I was so like committed. I kind of like closed my eyes to where the numbers weren't working. And it was a big mistake. And I learned from it. And I even told myself, I'm never going to buy a fixer upper ever again. Well, I changed that obviously. And now that's pretty much all I buy. But yeah, then if the numbers don't work, then it's better that you not tackle something that's going to put you in a bind, put you in a financial hardship. I always make sure I am extremely conservative with the numbers. And I do that with my buyers too, the clients that I'm working with, is I don't want them to be in a situation where it doesn't work out for them, because that's going to make me look bad. It's going to give me a bad reputation, and ultimately it's going to hurt them. And that's not what I want to do.
You want everybody to win. I
want everyone to win. Yeah. And
So
I have taken on 2 projects at a time. And I was like, all of a sudden, this whole reason I got out of the rat race was to be able to live life on my terms. And now I have 2 projects that are very demanding. So I keep it down to 1 because it works out better with my lifestyle.
Nice. And so it seems like, there's always that problem of you think back in the past and you make these mistakes and sometimes there can be these painful memories and you have to sometimes like divorce the emotion from the memory itself. And it seems like the way that you've solidified that is by just figuring out what your principles are, so to speak, right? Such as taking on one project at a time and helping others. And in your journey, in all these years and all the ups and downs, have there been any surprises? Is there a fun story you feel like sharing where you just were like knocked on your butt or really had to change your thinking to push through?
Yeah, I would have to say I bought a meth house, and this was probably the worst decision I ever made. I mean, it ended up working out, but the rehab, because what you have to do with when you purchase a meth house to get it clean, it's very expensive to get it certified by the state and all the processes that you have to go through. I literally had to strip this house down to the studs, and I did not factor that in at all. And I just didn't do my homework. And so the rehab literally costed double what I had projected. So in the end, I was not able to pull out all of the money that I put into it. In fact, that's probably one of the houses that I like. Usually what happens when you buy a BRRRR is, you will purchase the property, you get some type of usually this is how I do it. I get a short-term type of loan, 10, 12 to 18 months long. That gives me that time to rehab it. And the interest rate on these bridge loans are a lot higher. So you have a higher holding cost. I go in there, I fix it up. And in this case, I put all my own money in it because I had successfully pulled all my money out of other BRRRRs and it was building up in the background. So I put all my money, like literally emptied out every penny I had into this house. And in the end, I wasn't able to get all my money back out. I got like half of it out. So it kind of set me back big time. But, you know, 3 years later, that house has the most equity of any of my homes. And it's actually cash flowing better than all of them. So I want to say on paper, if you look at the equity standpoint, if you look at what I'm making per month on that deal, it ended up working out. And I bring that up because even though it was a bad deal at the time, with real estate, one of the things you always have is time. Time is on your side because in the big scheme, in the long term, if you look at the last 100 years in real estate, sure, there's been some times where we've had some dips, we've had some fluctuations, up and down, but ultimately, long term, the value is going to go up no matter what. And in my case, it did. So it ended up working out. But at the time, I thought I had made a big mistake. I had already quit my job and everything. And I was like, I depleted a lot of our savings because I dumped it all in this house and I wasn't going to be able to get it all back. So it was a very trying time for me, but I learned a lot. I learned to, and that's really what made me kind of change the way or what I look for when I do purchase a property is I really am conservative. Like I said, I let my wife look at all the numbers. I let my wife look at the property, get her advice. I get friends' advice. I bring contractors in. I get all the quotes early on. I do deep inspections. And since I've been doing that, yeah, sure, I've hit a few snags here and there, but for the most part, I've been pretty successful.
Amazing. And I'm kind of like subconsciously in between the lines here, picking up all of the things that you do correctly, right? Like it seems like you love the data and you love learning and you love kind of doing your due diligence, so to speak, and kind of knowing what the numbers are and then kind of like, sifting through that and figuring out what's important. And it seems like you're also big on the team, on the sounding board, the devil's advocate, right? Having other people help you
Absolutely. Yeah.
and your wife, so that way it's not just your brain working on the problem, it's multiple brains working on it. And so with real estate, like as we've been saying, there's quite the upside, but a lot of people are afraid of going wrong in so many different ways. So do you have any advice for the youngins, for the newbies in real estate, or people who maybe they keep on listening to podcasts like this and keep on reading and they're just like so nervous about taking that first step? Like, what would you say to the next generation of BRRRR entrepreneurs?
Well, I'd say you really have to make some mistakes. Like, you are not going to ever be successful unless you do make mistakes. And it's better to make mistakes when you're young. As you get older and you start making mistakes, or if you're getting started later in life and you make mistakes, it could cripple you, right? So you can't be afraid not to make a mistake. That's number one, right? Definitely, it's great to have people that are devil advocates, but at the same time, uh, there's a lot of people that don't invest in real estate, and they're afraid of it, and they will try to talk you out of something that truly will change your life. So I think it's important to take what, anything that anyone says with a grain of salt, and really, do your homework. But at the end of the day, if you don't get started, you'll never get started. So don't be afraid to take that first step. If the numbers work, like I would say, if you're just starting out, don't do a major rehab. If you were going to go with the BRRRR strategy, for example, go with a lighter cosmetic rehab, something that, the bones are good, the electrical is good, the plumbing's good, the HVAC's good. It needs new flooring, paint, maybe new kitchen, stuff that that the core of the project is solid, and you'll have the best chance of success. So start there. And in that, also, what's really important is building a network. You need to have a network of trades, handymen, carpenters, electricians, plumbers. Have these people on deck. Build relationships with them, because you're going to need them, and they're going to be the ones that are going to go in there and quote out stuff to you, so you can see if the numbers are going to work. And eventually you get to a place where you can walk through, and like today, I could pretty much tell you, like, oh, it's going to need a new furnace. Okay, I know how much that's going to be. Like, I can figure it out, just walking through myself, but I still bring in the big dogs before I pull the trigger, always.
Okay, I love it. And so what I'm getting from a lot of your answers here is that we all need more self-awareness, especially when we're young, and that there's so much to navigate, right? Because it's like you need to have the knowledge built up enough that you have that intuitiveness where you walk through and you say, okay, well, this needs a new furnace, but you also can maybe sidestep the problem of the arrogance, because it would also be really easy to say, okay, well, we don't need to bring in those guys to actually take a look at things. And also what I'm getting at, which is really important, is to, like you said, network, build those relationships, have your Rolodex. That way it's not just you doing all these things, and that way you don't have to scramble later. And so just listening to you, it seems like self-awareness is so important, because we've all been there, right? Especially when we're young, to get just that one little piece of advice, and that led us down a path just because we listened to the wrong person. And it might have even just been a family member trying to keep us safe, but also keeping us in our comfort zone. And so there's just so much to figure out. But we need to be on a path. We need to take some of this action. And so as far as someone reaching out to you, Keith, as far as someone being like the right type of person in the right situation on the right problem, who are your people? Like, if someone's listening to this podcast today and you want them to reach out to you at andrewshometeam.com or at 719-337-4522, who is someone who would be a perfect fit to have a chat with you?
Honestly, anyone that is interested in getting started in real estate and they really don't know, because there's so many different strategies, right? There's so many different paths. And if you haven't started yet, we are definitely the team to talk to. And even if you are a veteran, you have multiple properties under your belt, but you're interested in maybe exploring the Colorado Springs market, definitely you want to talk to our team. The thing about our team that's different is we are investors first and foremost. We are actually on the ground doing these things ourselves. We have relationships with all the trades in this community. So we can plug you with that from the very beginning to give you the best possible start. So honestly, like, anybody that's interested in getting into real estate, specifically on the buy and hold side, I don't work with too many flippers, people that are just trying to buy a house to flip it, because our strategy is really like, we're targeting properties that we know are in areas that are going to cash flow good and have that long-term appreciation behind it as well.
Okay, so that is what your strategy is. And then, as far as my understanding is, you have a podcast as well. Is that right?
I do. I just launched it in the end at the end of November. I'm actually launching my 5th episode next Tuesday. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. I get a chance to talk to other people that are doing things like me and learn from them. And then we can all like learn together. So it is very real estate. It's called the Real Estate Junkie Podcast. It's really real estate focused, but sometimes we dive outside of real estate investing and talk about different things like health and different businesses that complement real estate.
And that can be a lot of fun because you're not always just stuck in a box. Sometimes you venture into the other areas. So that is the Real Estate Junkies podcast, which you can find on your podcast player. But most importantly, andrewshometeam.com is the place to go to speak to Keith and his team. Just if you're the kind of person that you know that you need more friends, and we all do, and you need to make better decisions, and you want to up your game, then Keith and his people are the people that you should be speaking to, at least to have a friendly chat and explore possibilities such as the Colorado Springs area. And as far as us winding down our conversation here, Keith, and ending with a bang instead of a whimper, it's always fun for me, at least, to put my guests on the spot and ask them about a quote or lesson that has either helped them or you think can really apply today. So what just jumps out of your brain when I ask you for a quote or lesson to help us out?
It's I think for me, really, because if you look at why I got into real estate in the first place, why, like my whole why was I wanted to get out of that rat race. I wanted my time back. And it was Bob Marley that they said they were interviewing him and they asked him, are you a rich man? Do you think you're a rich man? And then he replied with, rich? Does possessions make you rich? What makes you rich, basically? And it's life makes you rich. So for me, real estate has given me my life back. And I think that's the most important thing. That whether it be real estate or anything else that we can strive for is to live life to the fullest, because it is short, right? We don't know. Like I was talking to someone the other day, and we're all like on this highway to an eventual death. And I don't want to talk doom and gloom, but it's true. And the thing about this highway is none of us know where our exit's going to be. So it's important that we just live life to the fullest. Don't harbor hard feelings. Say sorry, every day. Just like, I think that's the message that I would want to leave with people, is that rich isn't always about money. It's about living life to the fullest.
Very inspiring. And for all we know, today could be the last day, or tomorrow could be the last day.
It could be.
Yeah, and so there's two ways of looking at it. You can look at it, like you said, doom and gloom, or like I'm going to leave it all out in the field and do 100% today or even more. And so you out there, BRRRR real estate entrepreneur, go to andrewshometeam.com and check out what Keith and his people have going on. You'd be glad you did. You can find out about their services and about their reviews and just about their latest activities. So go there right now, andrewshometeam.com. And thank you very much, Keith, for stopping by and amazing us and giving us some great stories and advice. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Robert. It was fun.